Hey guys, welcome back to the first episode, premiere episode of a show called Prepared Utah. I've done a lot of shows. I've done a lot of social media, done a lot of podcasts, a lot of information all over the place on this idea of being prepared. I wrote a book, a national best-selling author on a book about preparedness. You're watching this and you're like, oh, it's you, or you're watching this and you're like, who the heck is this guy? So I'm going to take this opportunity on this first episode to tell you who I am and what I'm about, and also the value I intend to provide you on this network, especially if you live in Utah. Now, the way I got to Utah is pretty important to talk about because there are a lot of stories of a lot of people that I know personally in Utah of how they got here and why they decided to come here and raise their family. Heck, I met a guy the other day who was in my shop during Mobility Go Rigs and Coffee in Provo, who said he came here post-retirement from Miami because of me talking about Utah. So Utah and me have an up and down relationship, and I'll get into that. But specifically, the reason I moved to Utah is because of all the natural wonders and beauty that Utah is. From Moab to Logan, really everything in between. Utah is one of the most beautiful states. It is the most beautiful state in the country. And I'm big on the outdoors. I love hunting. I love fishing. I love outdoor activities with my family like camping, mountain bikes, etc. And there's not one single place that offers the most. Yeah, sure, you can go to Nevada if you like mountain biking, but are you prepared to deal with like the Death Valley heat that it offers? So Utah is like the best of all the worlds that I'm into when it comes to the natural wonders and beauty of our country, right? The mountains are in my backyard, like right here, and I love it. But I also love the conservative values of Utah. Now, I consider myself an independent who leans right, but making this non-political, I look at the landscape and go, who are my kind of people? Well, people who like tradition, culture, family values. And when I look at the demographic of people, which certainly you should do that when you're looking at a place to raise your family, I looked at the landscape and thought, man, this is a conservative group of human beings that are into preparedness, into traditions and values, into their faith, and I want to be part of that. And so I decided to move here while driving from Park City down into the Valley of Heber, down into Provo. I eyeballed some places, some commercial property in Heber, and went, man, that's where I want to put FieldCraft headquarters. And a couple months later, that's where it was. That's where we opened. Now, things have evolved in the last few years for myself and for my company. Where we talk about these ups, there were certainly some downs. For example, 2.5, 3 years ago, which I did a Joe Rogan podcast, which you can listen to last year, talking about this situation. I had the Federal Bureau of Investigation looking into me. Now, I have a military career, both in the infantry and in special operations, and I work for the Central Intelligence Agency as a government contractor, basically a bodyguard for case officers overseas. And I knew that there were instances where the government, like the FBI or the CIA, weren't talking to each other, or the military and the CIA weren't talking to each other. And so there's a breakdown. And I noticed that when I was a contractor, where I'd come back from overseas and I would have to go into secondary and get interviewed and scanned by TSA because they were like, well, why are you going overseas? I'm like, I can't tell you why I'm going overseas, but I'm a contractor working for the U.S. government. And they kind of didn't believe me. And so I was classified on a watch list while in that capacity. Oh, by the way, the same time I was a sergeant major in a Guard Reserve Special Operations Unit, and they still didn't right hand talking to the left hand. And so I went, oh, this is how it works. Like, they just don't talk to each other. So when I started FieldCraft, I started a group called American Contingency. That's a .com. You can go to the .com. During this time where we were having BLM and Antifa riots across the country. where this activism was turning violent. And I said out loud to a lot of people, it's time to get off the bench and actually take care and police your own communities. Because if you don't do that, who's going to take care of you? And there was proof of that because there were governors and mayors and sheriffs telling their people that were supposed to protect you in this agreement that we had to not protect you because of the optic, because of the politics. And I didn't like that. So I said, we'll form a group to police ourselves. Now, I didn't want the group to be a militia. I didn't want the group to be me rescuing people. I wanted the group to be a forum for people in their own backyards to do the hard work of actually building relationships. The things that I saw happening organically in my backyard in Utah. And that became very popular, very fast. And it also became very toxic, very fast, because you're going to have toxicity wherever there are people. You're going to have breakdowns. You're going to have issues. You're going to have drama. And we quickly got identified by the FBI as being a potential domestic terrorist organization because we were potentially facilitating extremists, which I would not tolerate. I would never do. So after some phone calls, after some viral videos, that seemingly went away. But not after they tried to destroy my business, nearly destroyed my family, destroyed my reputation, and destroyed my ability to make a living in the United States of America. Well, that's kind of extreme, Mike. What do you mean? Well, they disabled my Shopify account. And Shopify said you had 48 hours to get your account. And if you don't get your information, all of it will be lost. What do you mean? Like the website that I designed for weeks by myself, the multi-million-dollar business that I developed from zero, from a couple dollars in my pocket, and worked years and years to develop and grow, all of that's going to be gone? Yeah. Oh, by the way, the banking, you're not going to have banking anymore either because the connection between the consumer and the website, this connection, we're going to disconnect it, and you can no longer have that as well. Oh, PayPal. No PayPal for you. In fact, we're going to hold your money. Oh, Facebook, Meta as a whole. You can't monetize. You can't run ads. In fact, we're going to disable your account, which I had. Ironically, my Facebook account was demonetized for a year. And then after the Joe Rogan podcast the following day, it was magically activated. Find that very ironic. Maybe Zuck listens to that podcast. So when you look at the totality of all the things that I went through, it was brutal. And I lost a lot of faith. But I also gained faith in people, the American people, because we as people hold the power, because we are the country. We are America. In fact, the whole idea was that these politicians were representatives of us. Remember, that was supposed to be how it worked. But now we have a breakdown in that. And that's not okay, but that's something that you're going to have to deal with and manage. So we have to focus on what's most important, and that's being individually prepared as a family, and significantly important, prepared as a community. And in fact, prepared as a community in the state of Utah, maybe prepared as a state. As a society, when you're not healthy, you're not going to exactly have healthy institutions, especially in the government, where there's no consequence. I mean, you have immunity, or you just get pushed to the side or forced to retire, or you step down. In fact, in some cases, you mess up, you step up. So it's like, why are we doing this in our country? We've created it in our own way. So what is the bottom line here? Well, the bottom line is we need as a people to step back and realize what we have within our control. Remember, the origins of this state is because of the hard work and pioneering from so many people that came in here after being disaffected. We come from strong roots and values. One, we got to maintain those. We have to sustain the integrity of those values. And two, if we have to, we'll fight for it. So my job on this show is going to be talking about issues, giving you best protocols and procedures on how to prepare for yourself and your family and your community. Guys, I appreciate the time, and I'm looking forward to the journey. If you want to see more about me or my company, you can check us out at FieldCraftSurvival.com. Also in Provo, Utah, you could do jiu-jitsu or physical fitness training with us locally, and we do training on the weekends, and you can see all the courses that we offer at FieldCraftSurvival.com. Till next time, bye guys.